Hi, this is Sidney. So, in this video today, I wanted to share with you a quick energy update based on the energy that I've been tapping into in September and how it's affecting us on a collective level as well as individual level for those who are connecting with my energy at this time and resonating with, what I'm sharing, so that you can utilize this information and knowledge for your highest good, that is for the highest good of all. So the energy that I've been tapping into in September had been that we are releasing karma still. And something that I want to remind yourself about the concept of karma is that we've been programmed to have an idea about karma that is attached to the idea of fear. So what goes around comes around, as if you're not doing something good, we're going to get punished, something bad is going to happen to us that is out of our control. So that creates a whole negative dynamic or the attachment to that word. So once again, I'm just reminding you to see everything from a neutral perspective, and that karma in Sanskrit word simply means action or our own doing. So what we put out, we receive in return. That is the universal law. That is the spiritual law. And that's the basis of that. It has nothing to do with good or bad, which is the duality consciousness that we are heavily, heavily programmed with and living under influence right now. So what I mean by karma, releasing of karma, is basically you can see it as the major theme that I've shared in my other videos for August and previous months earlier this year had been repatterning, restructuring of our own patterns. For individuals, it could be your mental pattern, emotional pattern, behavioral pattern. And these patterns are formed out of conditioning, basically means out of survival, because conditions, you can see that as restriction, right? It takes away our power within, the sovereignty within. So basically at large, to just sum it up or put it simply, you can see that as oppression or suppression. And under such environment, what happens is we resist, we rebel, or we react, and that affects our nervous system, that affects our mental state, emotional state, therefore the physical state and all of it. So that's why we lower our vibration. And the oppression and the suppression, the basis of it is control. So the underlying mechanism of that is fear. And so the major theme for September that is different slightly from the karmic release is that we had the chance to go inward and really review our own patterns the last month and previous months. And now in September is a galactic new year, and we have the 9-9 portal that represents the completion of a cycle. And completion of a cycle also could mean that you have mastered something during that period of cycle, whether it's short term, long term. And this could be different for every individual. So you don't need to compare. Comparison pulls us down to our ego, so we don't want to go there. And so you have completed some sort of cycle, and then you have learned something, meaning you have mastered that area. And when we apply the idea of perfection, we're going to feel short of a lot of things that we need to work on, but you just focused on little thing that you've been working on. You have mastered that area without you realizing, because you were so focused, determined, and committed with conscious efforts and actions towards that direction. So just recognize yourself that when you learn something, when you complete this little cycle, you have mastered. So you have this new learned mastery within yourself. And with this knowledge, what we were guided to do in September was to really do the last checkup before the full moon that is going to take place at the end of September. That is the full moon in Aries. So the full moon in Aries is all about taking action, taking charge, leading, and it's the bull, right? Charging ahead. So there's going to be a lot of renewed energy, and then fast-paced energy, go sign, taking action. But until then, we had the retrograde earlier this month, and on the 15th of September, we had the new moon in Virgo, as well as the Mercury that was in retrograde turned direct. So, in a way, what that represents, energetically speaking, is that now we've really looked into ourselves when within and really reviewing our own patterns and coming to a realization, I want to form new pattern, I want to choose differently, all these things in all areas of your life. For example, like you want to wake up earlier, as simple as that, or you want to eat healthier, things like that on a practical level. And now with the Virgo, when I tap into this new moon, Virgo, we were given this opportunity to stay simple or simplify things and be more on a practical term. And that will really solidify all these new patterns or ideas or intentions that you were planting previous months to really solidify. And so that with that, what was really happening, or what you could be experiencing a lot or have been experiencing, was that you could have experienced some dark, lower vibrational, negative energies coming from people around you, or people from your past reconnecting with you, or either you somehow being in a situation where you have to interact with them, connect with them once again. And the purpose behind that was not to you don't want to see that as an attack, or they're trying to get me, because it's all fear. And once we take on that fear, what happens is we lower our vibration and we agree to that fear, and therefore they take over our vibration, and that means we're giving our power away. And so the reason being that appearing in your reality at this time is September is likely to help you see the new you, the changed new you. So you're going to experience or feel something familiar in these situations, or how people are playing out. And what also came up was the narcissistic energy that is very heavy in the collective. And the reason why we are dealing with a lot of narcissistic culture at this time is because of the heavy programming. And with that, the source guided me yesterday to share this message that you are the light and you are the love, because you're part of the source. When we are part of the source, what happens is we are eternal. We never really die. We just change bodies, right? You're now experiencing this lifetime as a human being, and you could be an Andromedan, or you could be a Syrian in your next life, going into other planets in the galaxy, right? But our soul and the spirit is intact because we are connected to the source. That means We are part of the source. That means you are the source. You see? And when you are the source, think about it. The essence of your soul and your spirit is abundance. But the reason being that narcissistic culture is so prevalent and commonplace at this time, lowering the vibration of the earth, is that we were conditioned, programmed. Therefore, we held certain beliefs because we agreed to these conditions, that we started to believe that we are not the source, we are not the light, we are not the love, but we are the lack. You see, the reason why these lower entities, they go around searching for unconscious soul is that they're not eternal. They're not connected to the source. So unless they find some other resource outside of themselves, they cannot exist. You see what I mean? There's a difference. But when we are heavily programmed, we forget who we are. That's what we mean by that. And we act like these lower entities because we learned or programmed to believe that we are lack, when we are in fact, in essence, abundance, eternity that is infinite. You see? That's why we deal with a lot of limiting beliefs, limitations, restrictive, powerlessness, fear control mechanisms right now that is pushing us to believe that we are restricted, we are limited, which is an illusion. But because of these beliefs are so deeply rooted, we are all going through this healing journey, karmic release at this time. So Source wanted me to share that you are not this lack. You are not these entities. And the reason why it is so important for us to stay aware and stay conscious is because we need to remember who we really are at this time, that you are the source. And there is nothing to fear. And so the reason why I share this message that you have nothing to fear is because we often forget, because of these entities influencing us. And so what they do is they use people who are unconscious, meaning they have been heavily programmed, or they had lives where they had a lot of karma from a lot of trauma, but they never really learned to heal themselves or grow through those experiences. Rather, they sought convenience. And so they just repeat the same cycle over and over. So the common traits of these people are constantly complaining all the time and constantly finding faults within a situation, within themselves, within other people. And the reason why they constantly do that is to have this false sense of identity, because they're heavily living in duality consciousness. When they make others less, then they feel in comparison better than these people or situations. That's why jealousy, envy are heavy energies right now that we are dealing with. And these are very heavy, especially in family dynamics right now. So if you are awakened star state like me, having had to deal with the family members that are pretty toxic. What I mean by toxic, unhealthy, is they have a lot of trauma, but they decided not to heal themselves or grow themselves, but repeat the same cycle over and over. And these family members could be a star seed, but they are not awakened yet. And so when you are connecting with them because you're family, somehow even though you distance yourself, you disconnected yourself from them, you might have experienced where, you have to communicate them, you have to interact with them. But every time you're around them or interacting, you have a lot of discernment now because you're very highly conscious, highly self-aware, and also at the same time, highly energetically sensitive or empathic. So you notice what's going on in between the lines. You see through the illusions. And it's really easy for those individuals or us to lower our vibration easily because our family members are very much attached to us and we still have attachment to them. And that's why the new moon in Virgo is calling us to discern. And we are being put into the situation. It could be family, it could be just close individuals that you call family, or it could be a work situation or certain relationships that you're in. It could be anything, or it could come from a stranger. It's because the universe is having us go into that experience once again, not to really test us, but to make sure that you see yourself now. You see the empowered self that you are now, that you no longer buy into these narratives they are creating to pull you down. Because you see, they get threatened by your light because they're still under the shadow. You see, they don't want to look at their shadow because they're in their duality consciousness of good and bad, because they see that is bad. So I don't want to see myself as bad and feel bad about myself and feel down and feel heavy. And so they get upset. They use anger, right? And they use gaslighting, right? They reject what you're saying, or they find faults and they get into an argument. They want to, that all forms of attack. So like attack meaning they're trying to fight you to justify that they're not bad, you see? So you don't want to get entangled with these energies. And when someone starts to do that, what you can simply do is detach and just observe and notice all these patterns playing out and how toxic and unhealthy that those patterns are, those environments are. And refocus your energy on your vision or your dream or what you want to create in your life. And how you can do that is not to analyze their actions, where they're coming from. If you are a energy transmuter, generational cycle breaker, you have been likely doing this unconsciously all your life, because that was part of your soul contract, to dissolve this generational karma. So you could have been analyzing them and then breaking things down, and then you were taking on their karmic burden and you were transmuting it all the time. But now what the source was guiding me to share was that it's not your job to do that. If you are connecting with me, especially now, because you have done the work, you have healed yourself, what you need to do is keep yourself high vibrational. And another major theme was to keep yourself in peace despite all the chaos around you, because it's like this one candle that is lit and staying lit can lit up thousands and then millions and then billions and trillions of other candles. You see, that's how powerful you are, or every one of us awakened conscious souls at this time. So that is why they emphasize you to stay in peace, harmony, and high vibrational state as much as possible using discernment. And that is how you are disconnecting. It's not your responsibility to take on their burden, especially your parents' burden. If you were a star seed, a generational curse breaker, or this cycle breaker. And another thing is that because we are so attached, we could still have certain expectations. And one thing that I want you to remind yourself of is that we cannot expect higher, I would say, consciousness from unawakened people. We cannot expect them to be accountable for their words, actions. And it's not our job to lecture them. It's not our job to try to correct them. And because we have the new moon in Virgo, it's likely that we could get into that right or wrong at this time because we are discerning. But we don't want to, we want to stay away from that temptation by staying aware. And so these lower entities, sometimes they use these family members who are unconscious to get to us. And it could trigger you of certain memories, of feelings of being abandoned, rejected, which you could have experienced all your life. Now you're going to see it more clearly. And you're going to give yourself the credit for how strong, determined you are. And you had been. And you really lived through these unhealthy dynamic and environments, came out very healthy, balanced, whole. And so that is what the source wanted me to share with you at this time. And you don't want to get into this argumentative energy because they have a lot of narcissistic tendencies when they're unhealed, unconscious. They don't want to look at their patterns. It's constantly they want to feel superior, feel right, feel good. That's all they are focusing on right now. And so what they will do is they will try to reason you out of something. And once you start to prove yourself, you lower your vibration, you use your precious energy. And you could utilize this energy to build your dream, build what you are focusing on right now that is for your highest good, that is for the highest good of all, that is from your soul blueprint. And so that's why the source wanted me to share this. And that because even though they're connected to the source, they are the source, they're love and life, they're not going to have that level of understanding or the depth of understanding that you have. Therefore, even though you try to share this knowledge so that they wake up or they improve, it's likely that you may be just using your precious energy, because unless their soul wants to, they could pretend that yes, be agreeable, but they can't really do much because they have to decide for themselves, or they have to feel the need that they need to change. We can't make them, or we can't convince them that where you are is not healthy, so you need to do this in order to be healthy. And so once again, you are not lack. Your essence is not like you're different from these lower entities. You're connected to the source. You are never in depletion. And that's why you can be resourceful, because you are the source. But these lower entities, they do not have the source. That's why they take advantage of other people. And that is what is taking place right now with humanity. We constantly see other people as a resource, a supply for my lack right now, because they made us forget who we are. So that was one of the main message. And if you're experiencing some negative situations or relationship dynamic coming up to the surface that looks familiar, that feels familiar to the past that you worked on, that you disconnected, distance yourself from, it's not because they're trying to harm you, but it's to make you see how far you have come, how powerful you are, and that you don't need to fear these situations and people anymore. You have the knowledge, the wisdom, and discernment to choose what is best for you in love, and keep your heart open that way. You can simply walk away. You don't need to get into an argument or try to see them, try to make them see it your way, because what I share is healthier. And that could be very tempting, or we could get unconscious once we interact or communicate with them. But you can just pull yourself out of it once you realize, because you have a lot of consciousness. You can see through, read between the lines, all the details of the games that they're playing, meaning the patterns that they're playing out, because they're unconscious right now. Sometimes the reason why they use anger, fear, sadness, worries is because these lower entities may use them to get to you. So at this time, that is what is taking place right now. Source wants you to stay in love and light. Even though these negative situations, people are coming up to the surface, to your immediate reality, they're not to attack you, they're not to harm you. You are powerful enough. You have raised your vibration. You have a lot of consciousness, self-awareness to discern, to disengage, to detach and observe and make decisions that is for the highest good, that is connected to your soul. So what I'm getting is your soul is taking over these false identities that you used to agree to believe in, because you're no longer agreeing to these narratives these people, entities are coming up with to get to you to believe that is who you are, but you're not buying that anymore. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.